Okay, guys, the title of this video will most likely be something along the lines of what I learned attempting to run 30 miles. So, this is a story I've told a handful of times to close friends and my family, or my family was kind of a part of it. But something that comes up from time to time, and so it may sound like, oh, maybe a bit of a humble brag or something like that. And hey, maybe it is. It was just on my mind, and so as I was making my third video for the evening, it was just the first thing on the top of my mind. So call me arrogant or conceited or whatever it is, trying to stroke my own ego. But hey, it was couldn't really think of anything else, and so here it is. Here's the story of, and hopefully along the way, maybe some notes on what I learned running 30 miles. So to give a little bit of the backstory, this was a few years ago now. So again, it's kind of like going, oh, when I won that championship game in high school, right? It's the story's a little played out, and I'm sure some of my close friends or people I work with or family would be like, how much mileage, no pun intended, are you going to get out of this story? And so hopefully I'll tell it once for this purpose, get it out of the way, and then won't bring it up again. Or maybe I will. Who knows? And so this was a few years ago. What is it? It's 2021 now, and I think I realized this probably happened back in 2018. So that's 3 years ago now, and I had just finished my full time commitment with the Air Force Reserve that I had done for a period of time. It was only about a year and a half, and I had come back to work in the capacity that I'm still working in with our family business. And so years leading up to that, years when I was in school, or kind of really in this sort of Air Force mindset, I was into running to some degree, not to any extreme extent. I wasn't doing like long mileage. The fitness test for the Air Force is is a mile and a half, and so my runs would usually be no longer than 3 to 4 miles, because I was really trying to jack up the mile and a half time that I had, and didn't really care much about anything else. But I ran a fair amount, and was got decent at it, for just a casual runner. And um, and so but 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 after school, after really caring much about the Air Force PT test, that sort of just went away as a priority, and I didn't run quite as much, and on the back end of that period of time. And um, and so when I finished that commitment, I'm back working in the family business. Um, I was still reporting to my reserve unit on the weekends, doing the monthly drill weekend. And there was two guys in my unit that were great dudes, and one among or two among many people that on these weekends I'd really enjoy. Hey, running into them, smile, chat, hear how they're doing. Just really decent guys, and so it was always cool to run into them. And one thing that had come up a couple of years prior was this, sort of fun run, or this canyon run that they would host every year. It was a tradition that they had started. It was just sort of a little grassroots thing. They get together, cool people, and they would meet and start at the top of this kind of like river canyon scenario, run down it to where it ended in a campsite, and then do like a spaghetti dinner, drink beers, and it sounded like a really cool thing. The course was 27, 28 miles. So it was a full day affair, because they were like, hey, you just kind of run walk it. It's not like anyone's out there trying to win a medal. It was a lot just for fun, and then to hang out by the campfire and drink beers and eat spaghetti afterwards. So that was kind of the main point, and it was one of those things that I just thought, man, this would be so much fun to do, and I think it really would have been fun had I ever gotten around doing it. But it was pretty far away. It was like an 8-hour drive, and it was one of those things where it sounds, like a lot of fun, or when you see these people, you get excited because you're hearing about how cool it is, and you think, man, I'd really love to do this. But then when it comes around to, you got to take a Friday off work, you got to plan and pack and get directions to this. I mean, it was just I always thought it would be a cool thing to do, but never really put in the effort to actually make it happen. And so anyhow, this year, 2018 is what it must have been. I again thought, okay, I put it on the calendar. I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to make a plan. And then it was like the week leading up to it where I, had made no arrangements to do it. It was still on the calendar, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to take a day off of work. I haven't, and it was maybe the pass was maybe snowy, and I just have a Chevy Cruze. I thought, I'm bailing. But I had talked about it at work, or at this point I had mentioned it to a coworker. And I'm going, man, this sounded like a ton of fun. I wanted to go on this run, but yeah, I'm not going to make the time for it. But I still had this itch to maybe go on a big long run, because I hadn't been running a whole lot at all. I hadn't ran for a while, and definitely no big mileage. And I thought, man, it'd be fun to just kind of out of nowhere push myself and go for a big long run. And when I had mentioned to my coworker that, this canyon run or whatever is something like, it's 20 something miles, and I said, hey, maybe I'll just do that anyway this weekend, just to hold myself accountable to it. And then of course this guy was like, dude, there's no way that you could run 27 miles or whatever it was. And I said, I'll do even better. I could easily run 30 miles. It's, let's just round up. There's no way I wouldn't be able to do it. And so, like any good kind of like challenge, this turned into a bet for $50. And there's some details in there. I guess the main point, because I'm getting a bit into the weeds, or kind of recounting some of the details that are maybe irrelevant. So this challenge went down. I ended up following through with it. I was able to do it, but the course I had set out was 33 miles, and I didn't cross the finish line that I had set out, which would have put me at 33. But I had been tracking on my phone the entire time, and by the time I got to mile 27 or 28 and 29, I thought, I'm just going to hit that original 30-mile mark that I had set out, and call it that, because my knees were killing me. So I guess I'm skipping a lot of the details, but there really wasn't much more to that. I guess it was just kind of a stubborn bet. Woke up early on a Saturday, had set a course around Lake Washington, hit the trail, and ran. And I kind of, vague memories I have was like feeling pretty good until mile 19. It was like, again, just getting off the couch and lacing up my white Nike free runs, and just hitting the trail. I was surprised that, hey, by mile 19, I'm still feeling pretty good. I'm not gonna sweat it. And then, it was like you turn the sharp corner, and then it was like boom, it hit me, and man, pretty much for those last, what would that be, 10 miles, around 19 and 20, for those last 10 miles, man, I was like really questioning my resolve. And I was, and I think looking back on it too, because I was really disappointed in my time. I think it took me like 7 hours or something absurd, where what I was, as I think back on it, and hey, why did I not necessarily perform to the level that I had hoped, which is absurd to think. Again, like, why would I even have any hopes of any level of performance. So just the fact that I finished, I guess, is fine. But I think one thing that contributed to it was that, again, I was um, having to track and navigate and create my course as I went, which wasn't a big deal while I was on the Burke Gilman in Seattle around Lake Washington. So the first portion of that, and then it turns into what I believe was the Sammamish River Trail. So again, those first two trails, it was no big deal. And I just remember when like the fatigue was setting in, um, and getting to that trail, just having to map and figure out, okay, how am I going to get from the Sammamish Trail to 520? And I just end up on a couple of, I must have mapped it out ahead of time, but when you're actually there and you're exhausted, whatever, it's that late in the game and you're having to map the course yourself. and and so I remember going through some kind of trails, and it was just like super hilly to get from the Sammamish Trail and be able to kind of cross over. And I was just basically at one point going through the town, whether it was Kirkland or Bellevue, to get back on the 520 trail to get across the bridge, and then towards UW. And and um, and so regardless, this was the point where like the pain was starting to set in, my stomach was hurting, my knees, just knives in my knees. And uh, and I made it to, again, to the start of the bridge. And at this point, man, I was just like, I was questioning myself. And I thought, I was like, again, also because the time had been just ticking away. And I thought, what's even going to be the point if I don't have any kind of respectable time? I forget if we had said I'd had to keep it within 8 hours or something like that. And I called my buddy who had been, part of, like, he's been sort of gassing me up um, to go for it. And he had just finished a soccer game. And I called him up because I'm at the start of the bridge, and I'm just like, dude, I'm like, I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if I can make it the next 6 miles or whatever it was. And he just talked. He just, hey man, you got this. You can do it. And I was like, all right. And honestly, I think part of me just kind of needed someone to be accountable. Needed to have an audience, because I was like, well, if I'm going to do this and no one cares, then why would I care? Everyone's lost interest. Why am I just doing this? But he was invested. He was all in, and he was like, he was near the UW area, so he's like, dude, I will park. I'll meet you on the bridge. Keep going. I'll meet you. And so that was what got me over the hump. Is I was, so I pressed on, went across the bridge, and then about 2/3 of the way across, man, I see my buddy, I see my boy, and he was pumping his arms up, and he was just gassing me up. And I got this wave, and I'm getting kind of fired up thinking about it. I got this wave of energy, and I was like, let's do it. And we linked up. I'm sure we hugged, whatever it was. And I kind of remember him taking some Snapchats, and I was in great humor. I was joking because it was this massive pain, but it was just hilarious. And so, we finished. So we finished the rest of the bridge, and then we were going along what turns into Sandpoint Way. It's the Montlake Bridge, which goes into 25th, but then veers off into Sandpoint Way. So we're going along that, and I'm just watching my phone, which is tracking the mileage, and it's ticking down the miles, and I'm a mile away, from 30 all the way to, which at the time my girlfriend's house would have been 33. But at that point I'm going, yeah, I may not be able to make it past that. And so, because I kind of remember knowing like how much pain each mile was going to be. And I think I remember going, okay, if I get to 30, I can deal with that pain, because I will have crossed that threshold. But then the 33 was kind of an extra credit. It was an extra sort of FU to my coworker for that $50 to go, hey, not only did I do 30, I did an extra 33. And I thought, okay, the amount of pain I'm going to feel for that extra 3 miles is not going to be worth that extra stick it to you. I will be content with the 30, or at least that's how I felt at the time. And so as we were approaching that, and good on my buddy, he checked me a little bit and was like, "Hey man, are you sure? Are you sure you're going to be good with this?" And and I said, "Yeah, I think I am." And I don't know if my body could take another 3 miles after that. And so we were um, heading down that road, and the miles were, the last tenths of miles were clicking off, and we had called up my lady who was with her roommate and let her know, like, hey, I need to be picked up, because I'm just hobbling down the road for my last the last mile. And sure enough, she was there. She picked me up off the side of the road as I was hobbling, and I crossed that last mile. My phone tracker ticked 30, cool, and I got in the car, and we got back to our place, and I could hardly walk. I limped to the stairs, and then I had to like crab walk and scoot myself up the stairs, and took an Epsom salt bath, and she tortured me with a little bit of icy hot, which was which was salt on an open wound. And so yeah. Anyway, I guess maybe I just wanted to get that story out, because as I was writing down some thoughts, that was one of the first ones that came to mind. And so, what did I learn? I don't know if I learned anything. I think I was a knucklehead for doing it, and I think I'm still a knucklehead. But hey, I've gotten a cool story out of it, and I think, if anything, I just hope it's a reminder a reminder of mental fortitude, and a reminder to keep doing things that I'll be proud of. And so, I think that's how I have operated early in life. The handful of things that I've spent my time doing early on as a young man. I've just tried to do things that I'd be proud of, and I think it's a good reminder to keep on that path, and to keep, as new stages of life come, even when the pain comes, even when that grind sets in, to keep at it and keep trying to do things that are going to that I'll be proud of. And so, and I think I'm kind of, funny enough, this is a little therapeutic. I think I'm at one of those stages now where I'm going, okay, what's next? What am I going to do? Uh, what am I going to do that I'm going to continue to be proud of and look back on, and be proud of? So anyhow, I've probably overshared. This is already 18 minutes long. Who knows who's made it this far? Mom, I'm sure you have. So thank you. But other than that, hope you guys are all doing well. If you're going to do any big physical challenges, definitely train for them. Definitely plan in advance. Don't make the same mistake I did. But that's all for now, and I hope you guys have a great night. All right.